Hi everyone, welcome to Barefoot TV. My name is Leanne, the Barefoot Medium, and we are here to provide you with easy access to knowledge, wisdom and guidance from experts, leaders and spiritual advisors to support you in transforming, growing and connecting with all things love, soul and spirit in your everyday lives. Now, for those of you who are watching today for the first time, I am Leanne, the Barefoot Medium, an international medium, channel, twin flame, transformational coach and author who is absolutely passionate about providing people with the opportunity to not only reconnect with loved ones who've passed over, but to access practical knowledge and guidance, as well as tools and techniques you can use every day to embrace what you love, what brings you into connection with your joy, so you can be more of your authentic self. Now, kick off your shoes, sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode where I am joined by Phil DeLuca, the Untalk therapist, or AKA Dr. Un, who is a psychotherapy disruptor, relationship healer, author, speaker, and guinea pig. I like that one. Who has developed an alternative holistic model to conventional relationship counseling that frequently works where conventional couples therapy or express yourself communication approaches fail. It brings about quick results and easy to understand and implement. So firstly, Phil is not only here to share his story, but to also share his knowledge and wisdom with you around the topic of mastering healthy relationships. So welcome, Phil.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm flattered.
Pleasure. Can you please share with people who are watching a little bit about your background, your story, and what it is you do?
Okay, well, I've been doing counseling. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I've been doing counseling for 42 years. I've seen about 42,000 situations. And one of the things I noticed when I started doing counseling 40 plus years ago was that the conventional communication approaches don't work very well. I call them the express yourself communication approaches. See if any of this sounds familiar. Always be in touch with your anger. Repressed anger kills. Get it out. Always be honest and open with your feelings and thoughts. No secrets. And the worst one of all, and possibly the most common, is never go to bed mad at each other or you are, quote, running from the problem. Wow. Those have been absorbed into the culture, and they come from the 60s, the let it all hang out generation, Woodstock, skinny dipping, running through the neighborhood, streaking, running through the neighborhood naked. I mean, we're talking about some dated material now. And the science since then shows clearly that these things not only don't work, but they are highly inflammatory and destructive to both our relationships, our love, and our health. So they're relationship and disease vectors. So I discovered early on that there was something wrong with these. I was using them, the guinea pig part comes in, because I was using them in my own relationships and they were just exploding like I was seeing with my clientele. So I pretty much closed myself up in my office and started integrating the science that was coming along and what clinically I was seeing. And while I was doing this, I was starting to have health problems, arthritis, premature memory loss. So I started researching the reason for health problems, and I came up with the inflammation model. Disease is the root of disease is inflammation. And if we have an inflamed body, we have an inflamed mind. If we have an inflamed mind, I discovered, if we have an inflamed mind, we have inflammatory thoughts. If we have inflammatory thoughts, then maybe that means we have inflammatory relationships. And since inflammation is a vector for disease, it causes disease, then that would mean if we have inflammatory words and communication, we would have diseased relationships. And so what did I see? Well, I saw conflict, loss of love, caring, people getting depressed, suicidal, holding grudges, breaking up. And I said, well, that sounds and that looks, if it smells like a duck and walks like a duck, it must be a duck. So this sounds like a diseased relationship. There you go.
Oh my
So what voila. So what I came up with was I cured my own health problems. And then I started integrating what I learned in my own relationships, what I was observing with others. And I came up with a very unconventional, but very effective and very simple alternative to communication problems. And I call it the untalk therapy, untherapy, because what I do is I teach people how not to talk in order to resolve their problems. Doesn't that sound interesting? Doesn't seem to make sense. And I call it untherapy because I teach people how to be their own therapists. So I teach them the skills so that in the future they can resolve their own, they can diagnose and basically treat and fix their own problems without the need for any more Dr. Phils. So they don't, so you can become your own Dr. Phil and keep your hair. So that's what I developed, and I'd be glad to share that with your viewers because it's a very easy and effective approach that can be applied to parent-child, business relationships, stress reduction, in addition to ongoing communication problems with loved ones.
And I love how you talk about the background with the clinical, social work side, because my background is behavioral science or psychology. And so, and I understand where you're coming from with the express yourself, honor your emotions. And even in the spiritual community, there's a whole thing around honor the emotions that are within and talk about it and, get it out.
Horrible.
Express yourself.
Horrible. And I can show the science why that's horrible. But and you're exactly right. It's been absorbed into the culture, and people that see it as settled science, and they don't even question it. So I see a lot of people who are kind of seeking me out because they've tried 2 or 3 or 4 other therapists, maybe over many years. And maybe they're seeking me out because I'm the last person in the town, in the city that they hadn't tried, whatever the reason is. But many of these, if not the majority, using this approach, I can turn these chronic situations around within 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sessions. And they've been in therapy with 6 different therapists for 6 years at least in a lot of cases. So it's a very quick, simple approach. It's like, to use the medical analogy, if you're treating a problem that is bacteria in nature and you're using an antiviral agent, you're going to get a very bad problem, even a terminal problem, because you're not treating the person as it's getting better, as it's getting worse. So I figured out it's bacterial, not viral, and now I have an antibiotic that I use, and it works like antibiotics. Within a few days, you start feeling better, and in a few weeks, you're cured. You're on the road to recovery. In a few months, you're cured, depending on the severity of the problem and the nature of it. So it's the same kind of thing, conventional communication approaches, and the people that are putting it out there. You go on the internet, I typed in recently communication skills, and good communication skills, and it was 25 pages with 10 links on each page, all saying the same thing. Get in touch with your anger, be honest about how you feel. When the other party is talking to you, is upset, make eye contact, don't use toxic words. I mean, really impossible stuff to do, as I can show you real briefly and real quickly right now.
Yeah, I want to explore a couple of things that you've said in amongst that, and then I would love for you to share that. I want to talk a little bit about inflammation, because you mentioned that, and I think you mentioned the word toxicity in amongst it as well. And there's a whole lot of stuff out there about toxic relationships and inflammation. And from I love how you share that connection, because what's in the mind is often reflected in the physical body often, or even in our relationships or what's going on around us, whether it's, romantic relationships, friendships, family, business, clients, whatever. And for me, from my spiritual awareness and also combining in my background in criminology, psychology and education, you know, I love the academic aspects to it as well, is every physical condition that we end up with is a result or has a cause in the spiritual, mental, emotional that then becomes physical, so you address it.
Yeah, and actually the science behind that, which I worked into my approach, it's called neuroplasticity, which means the brain, as you know, the brain is plastic fluid, it's plastic, and our thoughts, we shape our brain through our thoughts. So if we think it, they did an experiment where they took these, well, because of time factors, I don't have time to go into the study. But anyway, our thoughts shape our brain. Our brain responds to our thoughts.
Yeah.
The other thing we know as a sister concept of that is epigenetics, which most people don't know about. Epigenetics says that we have 54,000 chromosomes, and each cell in our body can switch on or off up to 28 chromosomes. And some of these chromosomes they switch on are pro-inflammatory, get ready for a combat situation, and some are anti-inflammatory. Relax, we're on the beach, there's no threat. Now, how does the body know? How does your kidney cell know we're in a threatful situation and I need to be releasing these highly toxic cortisol and adrenaline and such inflammatory chemicals versus I need to switch those off because I can relax? It doesn't see, doesn't have eyes. Well, we now know through epigenetics that every cell in our body is listening to the thoughts in our brain. And then it's saying, well, if we're in this chronic stressful situation where our fight or flight brain, which is right behind our ears, is going constantly, I call it our crocodile brain, then, and it's dark, bleak, doom, gloom, negative, resentful, preoccupation, all of these things spinning around here. Our thoughts, our cells are listening to the brain and they're saying, hey, we're in a combat situation that could be imminent at any moment. So they're switching on pro-inflammatory chromosomes, which then is releasing all these toxic chemicals. And basically we're cooking our insides. So that's why chronic stress lowers our premature aging from 9 to 17 years. It increases our cancer risk 3,000% and heart attack stroke rate 2,000%. It changes the way we metabolize fat, so we gain 50% more weight than we would otherwise on the same diet. It affects, Alzheimer's is growing at an exponential rate. It's now considered a problem of inflammation. It's considered type 3 diabetes. So if we're keeping our body inflamed, we're killing our front brain cells, suppressing our immune system, creating blood sugar imbalances, metabolic syndrome, autoimmune diseases, and it goes on and on. So, they say get in touch with your anger, but the science says that, yes, it's true, repressed anger is bad, but episodic anger outbursts increase your heart attack and stroke rate for 2 hours afterwards, 500%.
Wow.
Well, they leave that out. Express your anger and call the undertaker. Well, I would like to know that if I'm going to be embracing that approach, not an irrelevant point.
Yeah, then you get a conscious choice about it.
Yes, that's right. So there is a third option from repressing and expressing, but that's never mentioned. It's all, remember, this is coming out of the hang it, let it all hang out. So get it out, no secrets, so this thing about never go to bed mad at each other. So what happens is that one actually does work in a way because people don't go to bed mad at each other because they don't go to bed. They argue all night and then the next night, and then now they have these text wars going. So now you're texting all week, these huge texts, 30 pages of them day after day after day because you got to get it out. I mean, and since this is highly inflammatory, we're in an inflamed state, we're just juicing up this relationship and causing it what I've identified as to spiral into the dead zone, where there's no love, caring, joy, and frequently even health left. So even if we do fix it, what does it matter? Because I don't love you anymore. So that's the place you don't want to get to, because at that point, it's just turn out the lights and close the door and let's just contact the attorneys because there's nothing left. That's the place. So conventional approach.
How do you, and I want to use the word for some reason, how do you short circuit
good question.
that mental activity that keeps people in that stressed state or that heightened alert state, ready for conflict, sort of, if that makes sense. How do you
Yes.
sort of circuit it?
Okay, so what I developed was a 5-step program. Very, very simple and easy to implement. And the reason that has to be is because when we're in the middle of conflict, as you know, we can't see friendly territory from enemy territory. Everything is so confusing and murky. So it has to be very concrete where you can get your hands on it. It has to be very clear, and it has to be extremely simple and simple to implement. And you have to get very quick results, if not immediate, because the next argument may be the one that is the straw that breaks the camel's back. So it's over, I'm out of here. And then you've got kids without intact families, financial bankruptcy, and you've got depressed people, suicide, drinking. It's so, I'm committed. I've been committed for 40 years plus of helping people prevent that from happening and getting them back on the love, getting them out of that spiral into the dead zone and climbing into a place of love again and closeness. So that's what it gives me great joy to see that happening. And I see it every week because this is it's radically different than anything your viewers have heard, but it's very effective and very easy to get. So let's go through what that is. All right.
Yeah, awesome.
Because of time factor, we're going to go through it very quickly.
Perfect.
And then I'm going to offer your viewers a free way to get more detailed information on that and actually walk them through the process. Okay. Yep. So what we've got is, we have the fight or flight response. Now, fight or flight response is, there's 2 parts of the brain we want to focus on. Let me get this out here. All right, so here's our brain, right?
Yep.
We've got our front brain, which is our cerebral cortex, right here. Okay? A gray matter, people know it as gray matter, higher functioning, learning, music, spirituality, love. And then right behind our ears, right in here, we have, put your hand on your ears, right here, we have our survival brain, which we share with the lower life forms. It's right behind our ears, the amygdala. I'm going to call it our crocodile brain, our thinking genius brain, because we're going to use this brain to come up with a way out of this death spiral that conflict causes. Okay? Yep. So now what happens is both of those are connected through the autonomic nervous system to 90% of our organs, heart, liver, lungs. And in between those is the hypothalamus, which is a switching unit, and it switches like railroad tracks. It switches the blood from one part of the brain to the other. So here's how this comes out. The body perceives a threat. Now, it's very bad at perceiving real from imagined, big from small threats. Since survival is at stake, and if true survival is at stake, you only get one chance. And if you're in error, you lose. You're somebody else's meal, So it overreacts 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
All right. So we get threatened. We feel threatened. Blood, then the hypothalamus starts switching. Oh, man, I got to get this thing active. It's asleep. So it starts switching blood from here to here. And if you've ever heard yourself having a dialogue between the 2 parts of your brain, now stay calm, this is going to have real bad consequences. No, I want it right now. Don't take that. That's 2 brains. You're actually listening to the conversation in your brain between the 2 thoughts. And as the stress keeps rising, the blood gets, keeps getting switched from here to here. This turns into like a Pee Wee Herman. This turns into the Hulk. Okay. And we lose up to 75% of the blood flow here, and it gets rerouted here. So this thing's juiced up, and this thing's falling asleep. It's like if you ever fallen asleep on a limb, like a leg, and you tried to get up and walk, you fall on your face because you don't have use of the limb. And that's what happens. This brain stops working, and this thing becomes what I call crocodile brain hijack. It takes over our brain and our body. People, when they get to that point, will say, it's like words are coming out of my mouth, but I can't stop myself from saying them. It's like I'm observing a film of my life, but I can't do anything about it to change it. That's crocodile brain hijack, where it hijacks our brain, takes over our thoughts, takes over all our organs. Now our heart's pumping hard, blood's rushing in because we're perceiving a battle with a T-Rex that's about to eat us. Actually, somebody just put the dish in the dishwasher on the wrong shelf. That's all they did. But we're geared up for a battle to the death. All right? talk about an overreaction.
Yeah.
So blood reroutes here. All right. So what I'm going to do when I put for this is, so I'm going to put my crocodile hat on. Okay. So here it is. Now I'm in crocodile brain. All right. The other thing that happens is blood reroutes to this brain. This is a dark, bleak, doom, gloom, suspicious brain. So our lens gets distorted. So here's my distorted lens. I'm seeing everything now as purple. My lens darkens. I get contentious. My attitude changes. My mood, everything gets dark, bleak, and provocative. Right? Conflict seeking. So now if we were to have a conversation about the color of this room, you and I would have a major problem in communication.
Yeah.
Because I would see everything as dark purple. You would see, well, we got white, we got tan, we got green. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? You're nuts or a fool. I know purple when I see purple, and this is purple. Yeah. So the more you try to talk your way through, the more it's putting me in an oppositional, threatened position.
Okay, wow.
Come back out at you, okay? So because this brain is volatile, irrational, short-term oriented, oppositional, dictionary and oppositional, and says seeking, conflict seeking, provocative, and taking an anti-stance.
Yeah.
So we're only going to defend and attack. We get tunnel vision, so it's you versus me, predator versus predator.
Yeah.
I'm not aware. I can't see what I'm saying and doing. I'm acutely focused on you. Actually, our pupils actually dilate so we can see distance. Better to get the enemy, who a minute before was your loved one, and now as somebody out to harm me. So here's another problem. Here's a really good example of it. You ever seen somebody who 1 minute was calm, happy, and the next minute it's like they get upset and they're like an alien enters their body and it's like, and then they laugh over something and the alien leaves. They're back. And then they get upset something else. The alien comes back. That's the two parts of the brain actually in control.
Yeah, wow.
And can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, I can't see you right now. Okay.
Okay, it's fine.
Okay, so that's the brain in control, whichever part's in control. So the alien brain is when this part's in control, the alien, and the nice, us, is this part of the brain. So you can actually see the two changes in the person. Okay, so crocodile brain kicks in. All right, lens changes. I'm in crocodile mode. We have physiological changes, perception, emotional changes. We're conflict seeking now. We have relationship changes. Now my thoughts are inflamed, my body, my thoughts. So my communication is going to be inflammatory. So I'm going to say things to provoke an argument because that's what this is. It's a conflict seeking brain. So once I bait you in, now you're going to try to talk your way through it. Everything I'm going to do is I'm going to jujitsu and flip and twist into pretzels. Why? Because I'm not seeking to resolve this. Logic is out the window. I'm into seeking conflict. I'm on fire and I need oxygen, in this case, conflict, to continue. That's why I'm made. That's why I was created. That's my only purpose. So now everything you say, I'm going to twist, distort into pretzels and clobber you so you could get upset and then we can get pulled into an argument. So now we don't get along. I call that when it finally engages the escalation stage occurs, infection escalation stage. Then that's bad stuff happens, no rhyme or reason, la, la, la. We pull apart, get calmer. Now we get away. Blood reroutes from here to here. This brain goes back on, and now we have regrets. Oh my goodness, what did I say and do? I can't believe it. Now we have regrets, guilt, shame. So what happens now, but there's costs to pay. We have guilt, shame, communications screwed up, sex over time becomes a battleground, a ritual, or non-existent. Over time, we lose caring, enjoy being around the other party. I don't like being around you. I don't even love you anymore.
Yeah. Because
of all the horrible things you say and do, or we say to each other when we get into this highly inflammatory state. So let's go back. And so now I'm not sleeping. We had a disagreement. I'm not sleeping. I got a stomach ache, a headache, which means I feel worse.
Yeah.
Deeper into crocodile brain. My perception gets darker. We get into a feedback loop. Are you there, Leanne? Okay.
Okay, let's go. So, Phil, you were talking about the crocodile takes over and the stomach ache and the headaches and the not sleeping and talk to me a bit more about that.
Okay. And so what happens then is, right, and let's plug in the conventional communication approaches. So I'm in this dark, bleak place, right? I'm in this dark, bleak place. Woo. All right. Actually, if I'm in a place where this thing is in control of me, let's do this, right? So I'm going to tell you how I really feel, right? You got to get it out. Keeping it in is really bad. And I got to be honest and open about what I've been thinking, and I got to deal with it now before you go to bed. So I'm going to tell you, Leanne, what I've been really thinking about you. I've been thinking about this for 20 years, and it's important to get out. And if you really love me, you'd let me get it out, and you'd understand. Well, Leanne, you're a mistake of God. If he could do it over again to get rid of a piece of trash like you, he would recreate the universe just to get rid of something, a loser like you. And your mother, she's even a worse piece of crap. Now, I feel so much better. Thank you for letting me tell you this. I've been holding it in all this time. It feels so good to get it out. The problem is, Houston, we have a problem. You now got to get it out, but I just dumped and vomited all over you. So now here's how this thing plays out. So yes, and we can't let ourselves go to sleep and calm down and when we're in a better place, when the blood recycles here. So we got to deal with it before we go to sleep. So all night we continue it, the next day in text, the next night. And so there we go. So what conventional communication approaches do, we now know what the science is. When we're in the fight or flight upset, this is an inflammatory state, inflamed body, inflamed mind, thoughts, communication, relationship. The worst thing you want to do if you go to a doctor because you've got swollen joints from inflammation is for him to give you a pro-inflammatory drug. You'd fire the guy, you'd sue him and win. You want an anti-inflammatory. You want something to control the swelling and the inflammation, not increase it and make you sicker. So that's what conventional communication approaches. They make it worse and actually push people into a place that they can't solve problems that could have been resolved before. That's the sad part.
Yeah.
And so here you go. You put all this money.
I want to pick up on that if I can, because I love how you use your props and your analogies, because it's similar to some of the work that I do. And I just wanted to bring in, what I use when you're talking about, once the person's been engaged in it and, you're this, you're that, and it's that blame energy that, gets spewed out, and that toxic energy that gets shared in the communication. And that for me is what I call a heavy duck in the space between the two people who are having a communication, because you've just come in and and my book is called Shifting the Shit. And really the heavy duck is you've just come in and put a whole pile of crap in my space that, hang on, where did that all come from? So I love your analogy about, spewing out the 20 years of thoughts and information. Yeah. How does it serve us to step into what I call the happy duck? Is it joyful? Is it loving? Is it kind? And is it necessary?
But you're not. There's more to that, though. That's accurate. Yeah. See, the problem is when we have to re-educate people, because they have bought in. It's not any fault of their own. It's my peers' fault. They bought into this communication model that you should talk about it. So they're not able to access that information. Okay, so we're calm. So here's how this works. So we're calm. We go into the therapist's office, or a well-intentioned friend tells us this, or we read something on the internet, and what it says is this. Okay, so now we're all calm. You, me, and we have the therapist over here. So we're calm, and the therapist says, okay, so now here's the rules. And the next time you're upset, don't get in their face, don't make hostile gestures, make loving eye contact, don't bring up old topics. Okay, so now we kiss each other. We kiss the therapist. We pay him this big pile of money, and then we leave.
Yeah.
We get into the car. The battery doesn't work. And suddenly I flip into crocodile brain. I can't access this information. Remember, it falls asleep. The very things that I said I wasn't going to say and do, I do. And when you remind me of that, I say, hey, you can stick that stuff where the sun don't shine.
Yeah.
And the same with that crazy therapist we have. So we get calmer. Oh, I feel so bad. So now they give us techniques that don't work. We fail with them because they do fail. They're totally worthless. And then when we get calmer, then we blame ourselves. I'm a failure. We do this 5 times. We can't follow through on it. We can't follow the books. The latest book says this. Internet says this. My therapist says this. We're paying him $200 an hour. He's saying this. He's got all of these degrees and all of these books. And we're failures. We're hopeless. The more we try, the more we fail. And I'm like, hey, that's not you. The therapist is the failure. And the science, that science is 50 years old. The science says we cannot do that. Our blood reroutes, we can't use this. We're only working on 25% of it. And there's another researcher that came out and said, our social engagement system shuts off when we get upset. What's our social engagement system? Our social engagement system is we're into an expressive and responsive system. We're into a kumbaya, I want to work this out. Our social disengagement system clicks on. We stop looking at the other party, or our eyes gets cold and reptilian. Everything from our dorsal up gets hostile and provocative. So the science, the current science says you can't use these techniques that they're giving you, and they're highly destructive, but people are still 50 years behind the time using stuff that has the opposite effect. So I came up with an approach that integrates it all. 1, get in touch with when the fight or flight response, step 1, see it. Get in touch with when the fight or flight response is kicking. Let me ask you that. Can you tell when you're getting upset? What's the physical sign?
Yeah.
People tell me my stomach knotted up.
It's here. It's in my jaw and my face.
Yes, real common one. Okay,
Yeah.
So, all right, that's the sign that everything's rerouted.
Yeah.
Now, what I want you to do then, before you say anything and inflame the relationship and take something back you can't say,
Yeah.
or get over a lot of times, get away. You got to let this crocodile brain know, stand down, there's no threat, get away, get calmer. What's the signs of karma? Well, that you're calmer. People say, so that's step 2, disrupt the pattern with a pause switch.
Yeah.
You see what's going on? Everything's about to change for the worst. I'm about to kill a little more of our love. So get away, pause switch, disrupt the pattern. Now, how can you tell when you're calmer? I start thinking, all right, before we get to that, now you got step 3. Now you got to detox all these negative thoughts. You've got the resentments, the desire for spite, all of this stuff. How are you going to detox it? Well, physical exercise, you need to drain off those chemicals. Otherwise, they're circulating around and causing enormous health problems, suppressing your immune system, shrinking your front brain, changing your blood sugar level. And anyway, we don't have time to go into all of that. While it's destroying your insides, it's also doing a job on your head. So drain those off. Reroute the blood from here to here by calming music, reading, getting invested in a project, laughter. Touch is really good. I grab my dog, go out, go for a walk, go to garden, look at green scenery. That shows a relaxing effect. Deep breathing. There's a whole bunch of things. You detox it. You then, step 4, now you re-engage with the other party, communicate it. Now you communicate front brain to front brain, problem resolving way. And then a lot of times the problems aren't even worth discussing. There's nothing to forget because I didn't say what a loser you are, and you need to lose 50 pounds. Besides, I didn't say all that I can't take back now. You know how that works, right? We say stuff that's like, man, I wish I could take that back 20 years ago when I said it, And the other thing, and then step 5, this is where it gets real interesting. Navigating through provocation. what happens? So conflict starts two ways. I go into crocodile brain and provoke an argument, or you go into it and you won't let it, and I try to avoid it, and you won't let me leave. You bring it up, you keep poking and poking and poking. You follow me from room to room. I leave the house. You follow me outside. You threaten me with a divorce if I
or messaging or whatever.
So, yeah, that's right. Sending you text, you're gone, but you're not. So that's my step 5, which is how to navigate your way through provocation. And conventional communication approaches trap people into a no-win situation on this issue, because here's your scenario. You come home, you're feeling good, you open the door, the other party's in crocodile brain. You know it. They're giving you the evil eye. They're silent. You know, uh-oh. They're bringing up topics you know are trouble. So you're like, Houston, we got a problem. Now, here's your dilemma. If you say something, if you talk, they want to talk, but they don't really want to talk. They want to argue. If they want to talk, we know we're going to get into an argument, because everything I say, they're going to flip into an argument. And if I don't talk about it, they're going to keep escalating and poking and poking and poking until we get into it anyway. So I'm in a lose-lose situation no matter what. That's where conventional approaches box people in, because they require the cooperation of both parties at all times. Well, that is such a rare event that I can't believe the stuff people come up with in this field. It's just, can't you see what's going on? This doesn't even make sense. But anyway, it puts me in crocodile brain to talk about the stuff that are being fed to people that is so obviously dysfunctional and broken. But you know, I'm a maverick out there. I'm the one with the problem, not them. So
I absolutely love how you share that, and that technique and that approach really resonates with me. And look, you know, I'm going to put my hand up and go, yep, there's been times that I know I go into crocodile brain. I know we all do. It's a part of living. It's a part of life. It's how we react or respond. And
normal biochemistry, yes.
Yeah, and so the problem is how we react or respond in our relationships, which either inflames it or allows that space. And I really love how you talk about, you know, allowing that space to, you know, go and do something with the inflammation, exercise, meditation, journal, whatever it is that you need to do.
That's right.
To get out of that crocodile brain like you talk about. And I really, really love how you express that as well. And that, you know, it's funny, we bring with us into the present moment our past experiences, our, you know, relationships, our, you know, situations and events that have taken place. And sometimes that unconscious comes up as the, like I said, the heavy duck to get you to be present and conscious to some old stories that might be playing out that just aren't true anymore, that might be creating the crocodile brain, like you said.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, just taking that moment, that breath, and going, okay, I'm in overwhelm. I'm not sure what's going on now.
I'm not in a good place.
I'm not in a good place. I know what my emotions are. I'm present to them. How do I manage that and move through it?
Yes, that's right.
And ask for space to be able to then re-engage.
Yes.
You know? And you know, in terms of, you've probably all heard of the 5 love languages, and I'm big on, you know, expressing ourselves in the ways that feel right and loving and kind for us. And I know me, and my love language is words. And so if someone's sitting there going, you're this, you're that, and, you know, you're too fat, or you're too this, or you know, you whatever, that immediately puts me in shutdown. I know it, and I'm aware of it, and I'm present to it.
And that's what the science says.
Step into what I call the happy place and go, okay, I know I'm being triggered here. I know I'm in reaction mode, but I don't want to spew this stuff out.
That's right.
That's you know, and so I love how you talk about that.
And the science says, and I talk about this in my step 5, the absolute worst way to get through to somebody when they're in crocodile brain is what? Talking it through. So, and that's what we've been told to do. If you're not talking it through, you're running from the problem. So the science says what you're doing is you're putting crocodile brain, who's feeling threatened already, on more of a threatened state. And so you're just heightening the situation. There's a lot of things we can do to detox that and get through. Talking is the least effective. There's touch, there's music. I tell my wife when she's in crocodile brain, honey, give me a hug. I need your love. And I give her a hug. Hug activates endorphins. Telling her I love you activates the endorphins. Kissing her on the lips or the head activates the endorphins. And the feel-good chemicals are like water on the stress chemicals. They reduce the stress. So rather than talking through it, I give her hugs, caresses, I put on calming music, and I could see. And then she usually feels sad because she got mad over nothing. She gives me those crocodile tears, and then we're in a good shape. But if I had allowed her to bake in it, we wouldn't be hugging and feeling love. We'd be mad and sleeping in separate beds for maybe a week or something,
And thank you so much for sharing that, because you've given me an insight into a situation that I experienced this week, and the other party asked me for a hug, and I was like, nope.
Yeah, that's your crocodile brain. Nope. That's right.
Nope. So
that's what was going on.
Thank you for sharing that, because for me, I'd experienced, or I felt like I'd experienced the criticism, the this and the blame and the this is what's wrong. And I was like, oh, hang on, I need some space and I knew where I was at. But then being invited to hug, I was like, nope, not ready for that.
Well, what my wife does is she'll keep her arms like her side, and I'll hug around the arms, and me too. But that's good enough. Touch activates the vagus nerve, which wanders. It's called Latin for wandering nerve. It wanders throughout all our organs. So if you take your right hand and you squeeze your left hand like this till it hurts, it activates that vagus nerve, activates this brain. Alert, alert, pain. But if you take the same hand and you caress it, it activates, it reroutes it from there to there and says, oh, it feels good. Endorphins, oxytocin. So how you approach that nerve, body contact, words we say or don't say. And that's what step 5 is. It's how to navigate your way through the other party when they're in crocodile brain hijack and they're stuck there. And there's a lot of things people can do, but conventional approaches are totally useless. At best. At worst, they make it worse, because I'm going to talk through and I'm going to say, okay, come on, you're being real stubborn now, just like your mother. Well, don't tell me I'm like my mother. You never liked her to begin with. Now you're on your mother, who died 20 years ago and loved me like her own son. Now we're talking about, what does she have to do with this? Because what happens is crocodile brain, when it gets activated, takes an emotional snapshot of the event and then stores it.
Yeah.
So when it gets activated later, front brain knows time sequence. 5 years ago was 5 years ago. But when this thing gets activated, it's all now. Because it's an emotional snapshot. So that's why we'll bring up stuff that's 20 years old and irrelevant, because it's right there, right now, like it just happened.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that this explains that, we don't have time to go into.
No.
But,
so and you've got a wealth of knowledge, and we talked about potentially looking at doing some more episodes where you can share some of your knowledge and wisdom, or some other projects that we can look at together. And I've really loved hearing about what you do and how you approach maintaining healthy relationships and knowing when you're in that space of heightened stress and high alert and inflammation, and how to ask for the space or ask for what you need. So thank you so much for sharing that, Phil, and for being a guest on the show today. Can you let viewers know where they can connect with you if they'd like further information?
Well, my website's letstalkmorelove.com, and they can go on and take a Dead Zone quiz. Are you in the Dead Zone? See where they're at. And while they're there, please sign up for a course. I'm offering a 50-minute free webinar. I've got over 100 PowerPoints. I use masks and different graphics. It's fun, but it's really going to be potent for people. How to stop your arguments tonight. I talk about the science behind this. I use visuals, the science. I use role playing. I put on different masks. So, and then if they want to continue more, I've got a really inexpensive course, a 5-part course, probably not going to be more like $160 or something, which is less than it takes for one session for therapy with most therapists. So you can get a lot of stuff out of a 4-hour course. But regardless, a lot of people are going to get enough out of this free webinar and to stop problems. So your kids can see it. It works well with parent children, 15, 12, 13, 14 on. They can see it. It'll work with them. People can use it for stress reduction. Send it to people in your face group. Send it to your religious organizations and groups, people. It has a wide applicability, and it's a radically new way to see conflict and give people peace and restore their love. And it's just current science that hadn't been integrated at all, but you can turn situations around real quick. So the more people's hands I can get into, the more I can get fixing situations, and that's why I'm in this.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me today, Phil. And for those of you who are watching, if you'd like to connect with me further through either a reading or through transformational coaching to look at relationships, work, business, whatever you have going on in your life, then head over to my website, thebarefootmedium.com.au, and sign up to the Barefoot Tribe, or check out some of the courses or things that we've got coming up as well. Wherever you are in the world, kick off your shoes, connect to the earth, connect to who you are, connect to your love, connect to your joy, and allow your relationships to flourish and thrive in healthy, beautiful ways. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Barefoot TV.